The Qur'an, with Sūrah introductions and appendices, by the Qur'an Project. Surah 2, Al-Baqarah. And remember God during specific numbered days. Then, whoever hastens his departure in 2 days, there is no sin upon him. And whoever delays until the 3rd, there is no sin upon him, for him who fears God. And fear God, and know that unto him you will be gathered. And of the people is he whose speech pleases you in worldly life, and he calls God to witness as to what is in his heart, yet he is the fiercest of opponents. And when he goes away, he strives throughout the land to cause corruption therein, and destroy agriculture and offspring, and God does not like corruption. And when it is said to him, Fear God, pride in the sin takes hold of him. Sufficient for him is hellfire, and how wretched is the resting place. And of the people is he who sells himself, seeking the pleasure of God, and God is kind to his servants. O you who have believed, enter into Islam completely, and do not follow the footsteps of Satan. Indeed, he is to you a clear enemy. But if you slip after clear proofs have come to you, then know that God is exalted in might and wise. Do they await but that God should come to them in covers of clouds, and the angels as well, and the matter is then decided, and to God all matters are returned? Ask the children of Israel how many a clear sign we gave them, and whoever exchanges the favor of God after it has come to him, then indeed God is severe in retribution. Beautified for those who disbelieve is the life of this world, and they ridicule those who believe. But those who fear God are above them on the day of resurrection, and God gives provision to whom he wills without account. Mankind was of one religion before their deviation. Then God sent the prophets as bringers of good tidings and warners, and sent down with them the book in truth to judge between the people concerning that in which they differed. And none differed over it except those who were given it, after the clear proofs had come to them, out of jealous animosity among themselves. And God guided those who believed to the truth concerning that over which they had differed by his permission, and God guides whom he wills to a straight path. Or do you think that you will enter paradise while such trial has not yet come to you as came to those who passed on before you? They were touched by adversity and hardship, and were shaken until even their messenger and those who believed with him said, When is the help of God? Surely the help of God is near. They ask you, O Muhammad, what they should spend. Say, whatever you spend of good is to be for parents and relatives and orphans and the needy and the traveler. And whatever you do of good, indeed, God is knowing of it. Fighting has been enjoined upon you while it is hateful to you. But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you, and God knows while you know not. They ask you about the sacred month, about fighting therein. Say, fighting therein is great sin, but preventing people from the way of God, and disbelief in him, and preventing access to Al-Masjid al-Haram, and the expulsion of its people therefrom, are greater evil in the sight of God. And fitna is greater than killing. And they will continue to fight you until they turn you back from your religion if they are able. And whoever of you reverts from his religion to disbelief, and dies while he is a disbeliever, for those their deeds have become worthless in this world and the hereafter, and those are the companions of the fire. They will abide therein eternally. Indeed, those who have believed, and those who have emigrated and fought in the cause of God, those expect the mercy of God, and God is forgiving and merciful. They ask you about wine and gambling. Say, in them is great sin and yet some benefit for the people, but their sin is greater than their benefit. And they ask you what they should spend. Say, the excess beyond needs. Thus, God makes clear to you the verses of revelation that you may reflect. To this world and the hereafter. And they ask you about orphans. Say, improvement for them is best. And if you mix your affairs with theirs, they are your brothers, and God knows the corrupter from the amender, and if God had willed, he could have put you in difficulty. Indeed, God is exalted in might and wise. And do not marry polytheistic women until they believe. And a believing slave woman is better than a polytheist, even though she might please you. And do not marry polytheistic men to your women until they believe. And a believing slave is better than a polytheist, even though he might please you. Those invite you to the fire, but God invites to paradise and to forgiveness by His permission. And He makes clear His verses to the people that perhaps they may remember. And they ask you about menstruation. Say, it is harm, so keep away from wives during menstruation, and do not approach them until they are pure. And when they have purified themselves, then come to them from where God has ordained for you. Indeed, God loves those who are constantly repentant and loves those who purify themselves. Your wives are a place of cultivation for you, so come to your place of cultivation however you wish, and put forth righteousness for yourselves. And fear God, and know that you will meet Him, and give good tidings to the believers. And do not make your oath by God an excuse against being righteous and fearing God and making peace among people, and God is hearing and knowing. God does not impose blame upon you for what is unintentional in your oaths, but He imposes blame upon you for what your hearts have earned, and God is forgiving and forbearing. For those who swear not to have sexual relations with their wives is a waiting time of 4 months, but if they return to normal relations, then indeed God is forgiving and merciful. And if they decide on divorce, then indeed God is hearing and knowing. Divorced women remain in waiting for 3 periods, and it is not lawful for them to conceal what God has created in their wombs, if they believe in God and the last day, and their husbands have more right to take them back in this period if they want reconciliation, and due to them is similar to what is expected of them, according to what is reasonable, but the men have a degree over them in responsibility and authority, and God is exalted in might and wise. Divorce is twice, then, after that, either keep her in an acceptable manner or release her with best treatment. And it is not lawful for you to take anything of what you have given them, unless both fear that they will not be able to keep within the limits of God. But if you fear that they will not keep within the limits of God, then there is no blame upon either of them concerning that by which she ransoms herself. These are the limits of God, so do not transgress them. And whoever transgresses the limits of God, it is those who are the wrongdoers. And if he has divorced her for the 3rd time, then she is not lawful to him afterward, until after she marries a husband other than him. And if he divorces her or dies, there is no blame upon them for returning to each other if they think that they can keep within the limits of God. These are the limits of God, which He makes clear to a people who know. And when you divorce women and they have nearly fulfilled their term, either retain them according to acceptable terms, or release them according to acceptable terms, and do not keep them, intending harm, to transgress against them. And whoever does that has certainly wronged himself. And do not take the verses of God in jest, and remember the favor of God upon you, and what has been revealed to you of the book and wisdom by which He instructs you. And fear God, and know that God is knowing of all things. And when you divorce women, and they have fulfilled their term, do not prevent them from remarrying their former husbands, if they agree among themselves on an acceptable basis. That is instructed to whoever of you believes in God and the last day. That is better for you and purer, and God knows, and you know not. Mothers may nurse their children 2 complete years for whoever wishes to complete the nursing period. Upon the father is their provision and their clothing according to what is acceptable. No one should be burdened with more than they can bear. No mother should be harmed through her child, and no father through his child. And upon the father's heir is a duty like that of the father. And if they both desire weaning through mutual consent and consultation, there is no blame upon either of them. And if you wish to have your children nursed by a substitute, there is no blame upon you, as long as you give payment according to what is acceptable. And fear God, and know that God is seeing of what you do. And those who are taken in death among you and leave wives behind, they, the wives, shall wait 4 months and 10 days. And when they have fulfilled their term, then there is no blame upon you for what they do with themselves in an acceptable manner, and God is fully acquainted with what you do. There is no blame upon you for that to which you indirectly allude concerning a proposal to women, or for what you conceal within yourselves. God knows that you will have them in mind, but do not promise them secretly except for saying a proper saying, and do not determine to undertake a marriage contract until the decreed period reaches its end. And know that God knows what is within yourselves, so beware of him, and know that God is forgiving and forbearing. There is no blame upon you if you divorce women you have not touched, nor specified for them an obligation, but give them a gift of compensation, the wealthy according to his capability, and the poor according to his capability, a provision according to what is acceptable, a duty upon those who strive for excellence. And if you divorce them before you have touched them, and you have already specified for them an obligation, then give half of what you specified, unless they forgo the right, or the one in whose hand is the marriage contract forgoes it. And to forgo it is nearer to righteousness. And do not forget graciousness between you. Indeed, God, of whatever you do, is seeing. Maintain with care the obligatory prayers, and in particular the middle prayer, and stand for God, devoutly obedient. And if you fear an enemy, then pray on foot or riding. But when you are secure, then remember God in prayer, as he has taught you that which you did not previously know. And those who are taken in death among you and leave wives behind, for their wives is a bequest, maintenance for 1 year without turning them out. But if they leave of their own accord, then there is no blame upon you for what they do with themselves in an acceptable way. And God is exalted in might and wise. And for divorced women is a provision according to what is acceptable, a duty upon the righteous. Thus does God make clear to you his verses, that you might use reason. Have you not considered those who left their homes in many thousands, fearing death? God said to them, Die. Then he restored them to life. And God is full of bounty to the people, but most of the people do not show gratitude. And fight in the cause of God, and know that God is hearing and knowing. Who is it that would loan God a goodly loan, so he may multiply it for him many times over? And it is God who withholds and grants abundance, and to him you will be returned. Have you not considered the chiefs of the children of Israel, after the time of Moses, when they said to a prophet of theirs, Send to us a king, and we will fight in the way of God? He said, Would you perhaps refrain from fighting, if fighting was prescribed for you? They said, And why should we not fight in the cause of God, when we have been driven out from our homes and from our children? But when fighting was prescribed for them, they turned away, except for a few of them. And God is knowing of the wrongdoers. And their prophet said to them, Indeed, God has sent to you Saul as a king. They said, How can he have kingship over us, while we are more worthy of kingship than him, and he has not been given any measure of wealth? He said, Indeed, God has chosen him over you, and has increased him abundantly in knowledge and stature. And God gives his sovereignty to whom he wills, and God is all-encompassing in favor and knowing. And their prophet said to them, Indeed, the sign of his kingship is that the ark of the covenant will come to you, in which you will find tranquility from your Lord, and relics of what the family of Moses and the family of Aaron have left, carried by the angels. Indeed, in that is a sign for you, if you are believers. And when Saul went forth with the soldiers, he said, Indeed, God will be testing you with a river. So whoever drinks from it is not of me, and whoever does not taste it is indeed of me, excepting one who takes from it in the hollow of his hand. But they drank from it, except a very few of them. Then, when he had crossed it along with those who believed with him, they said, There is no power for us today against Goliath and his soldiers. But those who were certain that they would meet God said, How many a small company has overcome a large company by permission of God, and God is with the patient. And when they went forth to face Goliath and his soldiers, they said, Our Lord, pour upon us patience, and plant firmly our feet, and give us victory over the disbelieving people. So they defeated them by permission of God, and David killed Goliath, and God gave him the kingship and wisdom, and taught him from that which he willed. And if it were not for God checking some people by means of others, the earth would have been corrupted, but God is full of bounty to the worlds. These are the verses of God which we recite to you, O Muhammad, in truth, and indeed, you are from among the messengers.